What? Fuck. Fuck. Fuck me.
Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
It's not the greatest country in the world.
Finally, really did it. You maniac! I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore! He'll bring them death, and they will love him for it.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Recovery from Politics podcast. I am your host Kyle Frame, and today is Monday, January 20th, 2025. So, I've been trying to stay more scripted lately, but unfortunately today marks the first day of the end of America, so news is just happening way too fast. So rather than a scripted thing, you're going to get more of a Kyle reacts to various headlines and breaking news that's happening right now. Good Lord. I think the biggest news is, per The Guardian, Trump is to declare a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border as part of day one executive actions. There were reports online that he was going to have over 100 executive orders that he's going to just flood the zone with today. Most of them are bullshit. They're nothing. They're not going to do anything. They're just there to, hey, look, he's doing something. But not really. They're performative. They're just out there. For example, he's going to sign a presidential memorandum on inflation. Big whoop. No fucking duh. So, he'll be able to say, hey, look, I did all these things for you. That's not true. He's not actually doing anything for anybody. But that's what he's doing. The real executive actions that he's going to be taking today that matter are going to primarily help his donors, his fellow billionaires, with the exception of that one I just said, the U.S.-Mexico border. So he is preparing to send the military to the border, which is scary if you live near the border, because the military will be there supposedly for your safety. I wouldn't trust that at all, really. I think any blue states, I was saying before, California, you should have seceded when you had the chance. Instead, this military is going to be giving carte blanche within your borders to move in. Again, these are soldiers and sailors who aren't already, stationed in California at their base. These are going to be new people empowered with controlling the border. Who the hell knows? This is one of his promises, of course, because he knows he can't build a wall. So instead, he's going to send the military there. One of my big issues with the military being used in this way is if you ask most people in the military how to handle something, it's going to be to shoot something. Okay? Especially used in this kind of way. He's not sending the military there to help people who need help. Okay, there are people who are trying to cross the border right now. Weather is cold in some spots, but there are desert conditions there. There is a extremely polluted river, the Rio Grande, where reports, if they're to be believed, if you jump into it, you come out and you need 8 shots or something to make sure you don't get infections from various different problems with that river. So he's not sending soldiers there with food and water and blankets to help people. My concern is it's going to get out of hand very quickly. And we're going to start seeing a lot of dead people on the border. I suppose the good news is Mexican president has been trying to help. She's been stopping as many migrants as she can for their own safety, if nothing else. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think Mexico versus America would be a, fair fight. Personally, I think it would turn out, if we were to do anything like Ukraine versus Russia. Okay, everyone would assume Mexico would fall in 72 hours or whatever, and Russia would, America would then take it. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to get a lot worse. I think most of that is bravado. I could be wrong, but I've never seen such a thing as an easy war. Okay? If there are ever easy wars, it's not because either side took it easily. It's because just random things happened that we couldn't predict happened, and it was like, oh, well, that turned out to be a lot easier than we thought. The Iraq War, the actual Iraq War, not the occupation portion of it. Saddam Hussein's regime fell very quickly. But I don't recall the United States military or even the president, making broad statements of this will be easy. I know the populace didn't think it would be easy. It's great when it is, but we were very, very aware that, hey, he still has, Saddam Hussein still has a military. We believed at the time there were chemical weapons. We, as in the public, I don't know what the military was planning to do with that, but we at the time thought there were chemical weapons, there were biological weapons. So the military was not in a situation where they thought, oh, we're just going to roll Iraq. This was a serious thing. And it just turned out to be a lot easier than we predicted because, again, the media and the president at the time had really built up hey, he's got weapons of mass destruction. So we were all really scared shitless that Saddam Hussein was going to use these things everyone told us that he had. And then he didn't have them, and it was way easier than we thought. Because it also turns out a lot of the Iraqis didn't want to fight this shit, and they laid down their arms and surrendered before we even got there. I don't know what's going to happen in Mexico, but I think if we keep poking this bear, which Trump's talking about, there are reports as well as sending a lot of troops down to the border. He's talking about military strikes into Mexico, violating their sovereignty without their permission against people who have not been under trial. These are not terrorists. I mean, say what you want about the cartels. They're not terrorists. They're drug dealers. Okay. To use the weapons of terrorism against them. Okay, extrajudicial killings. We're arresting these people, putting them on trial. Trump's not talking about any of that. He's talking about flat out assassinating people without any regard to civilian casualties, without any regard to due process. We are going into another country, effectively declaring them terrorists, and then just murdering them. That's it. I don't know about you. I don't agree with that. I don't even like it when we do it to terrorists. Okay? I really don't. I thought the worst thing that could happen was us, killing bin Laden. I thought the best thing that could happen is we should arrest his ass. Okay? There's so much evidence from his own mouth. Put him on trial. Please. A civilian trial. Like, I thought it was the dumbest thing when the Bush administration told Afghanistan, yeah, no, we're not going to give him a fair trial. You just turn him over or we're going to invade you. And they're like, well, if you're not going to guarantee him a fair trial, screw you. And then we had to go to war. There was an opportunity for all the Middle Eastern wars that we hated to have never happened. Because Dick Cheney and W decided, yeah, we're just going to put this idiot on trial. The evidence is insurmountable. Terrorists don't sit in an American... Terrorists against America are not going to sit in an American court and abide by the normal rules. Okay? They're not going to take their lawyer's advice. Chances are you could get Osama bin Laden on the stand, admit the whole thing, and, okay, fine. If execution's what they decide, if the death penalty's there, sure. If you're saying, Kyle, that's so much money, shut the fuck up. Look how much money it costs to actually get him. By the time we actually caught him, between 9/11 and the time we actually caught him, how much money was spent? And you come back at me and say, oh, it wouldn't have been worth it to keep him on death row for 14 years, waiting through all his appeals. We could have held him indefinitely. He wouldn't have lasted long. I'm sorry. It was a dumb decision. So I didn't even like it then. When Obama came out, and I was like, okay, sure, that's closure for victims. I understand that. But you had SEAL Team 6, and they had that compound dead to rights. You're telling me they couldn't have taken him alive? I just call bullshit. I think that should have been the order. And I think this should be the order. Even if I were on the same side as Trump on this, and I'm like, yes, the cartels are so evil, we need to actually go invade. We're going to invade Mexico to deal with this drug problem that you think is going to go away. Even if I was on his same wavelength, I would be advising him, please, for the love of all that's holy, do not kill them. Put them through the process. Show it in an open civilian court. Prove to everyone that our judicial system is above scrutiny. Or if the international community is in an uproar because we did this, again, without Mexico's permission, fine. Still arrest them and turn them over to a court you do trust. The ICC, for one, the International Criminal Court, is not just there for war crimes. We have plenty of international jurisdictions we could theoretically arrest these cartels and send them there. And let our evidence speak for itself. Let us rise above. But of course, that's not what he's going for. Americans don't want that. We want guttural. We want action. We want revenge right now. We are an angry, hateful species on this planet. And we want revenge for imaginary shit. By the way, fentanyl was not caused by the cartels. It was caused by us. Our pharma industry decided to make a drug so potent, it made people beg for the Mexican cartels to give them something. And most fentanyl doesn't come in through the immigrants at the border, and it doesn't come in through that. It comes in through our own ports from various international entities, China chiefly among them, and it comes in by Americans who go south into Mexico and then try to drive across the border because, hey, guess what? They have an American ID and they're white. They are less likely to get scrutiny at the border. At least that's the popular thinking. I have no idea if ICE is like, hey, there's a bunch of white teenagers coming through, maybe we should search them. I don't know if they profile that way down there. But if I were there, by all accounts, yeah, I would profile the fuck out of white people coming north from Mexico. I'd be like, oh no, I don't buy you. Your car's getting sniffed by the dog. Screw off. That's me. But right now, that's the most frightening thing, is that we could very easily, depending on how this is coordinated, within 24 hours from now, we could be literally at war with Mexico. That is a frightening thought. Okay? Because what's Mexico supposed to do? For fuck's sake, our own history is filled with this. Okay? Madison was our third president. Britain was kicking our ass on the high seas. They were basically attacking American merchant ships and conscripting them into their navy, their merchant ships. Madison, at the time, the United States was not capable of really going to war with Great Britain. We could outlast them in an occupation. That worked. Go to war with them as an entirely different monster. Everyone knew we were going to lose. Madison, as president, felt compelled. He had no choice. I have to declare war on Britain. We just have to. So he did. And we lost. War of 1812. We got our asses kicked. Very quickly. It's highly possible Trump puts these troops on the border and decides, let's launch some rockets into Mexico tomorrow or tonight. What do you think the Mexican president's reaction is going to be? Oh, darn. We can't go to war with the U.S. I mean, it's very possible that she wakes up tomorrow morning and is like, we are going to get our asses kicked, but we have no choice. We can't just sit here and let this happen. We have to declare war, even in a losing war. That might be her thinking. I have no idea. We can't predict this shit. This kind of situation hasn't happened in a while before, where somebody's like, they keep shooting tomahawks into our backyard, but we can't go to war because we'll lose. When was the last time this happened? No, that just doesn't happen. So it is highly possible we find ourselves on the receiving end of a Mexican war. And I'm sorry, Trump's not going to give a shit because he doesn't. If you think you're safe because you're in a red state, you're not. If you think you're safe because you're in a blue state, you're not. Doubly not. Because I guarantee you, if they come in through California, Trump is not sending the military to help you. He will watch that state fucking burn. He is right now. So for me, that's the most frightening thing, is how quickly he's moving on this one. I thought, for the most part today, and as has also been reported, is that I guess within the next 24 to 48 hours, there are going to be major ICE raids in major cities, mostly Chicago and New York. These are attacks against, democratic cities and establishments, and he's just making a big show of things. Okay, a lot of people didn't actually think he would go through with the whole mass, immigration deportation plan that he has, because that's so many people. The infrastructure is mind-boggling, and also he's a billionaire, and that would affect the stock market, and that would affect his billionaire friends. That just doesn't. I don't see how that's. It's only a win for him short term, because even if he did do what he did, we would have a serious food shortage in this country very quickly. No one would be building the houses. I'm in Alabama. I'm in a neighborhood that's still being built. I do not see white people building these houses at all. So if he actually went through with his mass migration or immigration policy, I just don't see that happening. It would hurt way too many of his people, the billionaires. Okay? And again, if he did it, it would be short-term lived, because MAGA would very quickly realize they really can't afford groceries now. And his polls would drop. So I never saw that as what's really going to happen. It could still, he could feel political pressure to fulfill that promise. But I think instead, what we've seen happen here is he's going to go ahead and do these big, high-profile, look at us raiding Chicago and New York, these infested cities, because that's the kind of terminology he uses, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to take care of those immigrants you hate. He's going to make a big show of it, but he's not actually going to put them anywhere that really matters. I'm sorry, he's just not. But those are for flashy profile things, so that way, MAGA can go ahead and say, oh, look, he's doing stuff. Because they don't care about substance, they care about style. Trump's got that. So there's going to be that. Then just now popping up is Trump is set to sign an executive order declaring a national energy emergency. Despite the fact that under Biden, we are drilling more than we ever have. We are getting more natural gas than we ever have. All of it, ever have. The reason to do a national energy emergency is it allows him to open up places like Yellowstone for drilling, for that kind of stuff. The only reason we have an energy crisis right now is because of AI. That if you go on to do a Google search these days, there will be a opening dialog box at the top that is the AI answer to your question or query. What ends up happening, that AI result there takes 8 times more power than the regular search, where it gives you real actual articles or blog posts and on the subject that you're trying to find out about. 8 times more power to go into AI. And it's not going anywhere soon. Ridiculous, magazines like Foreign Affairs go ahead and say that, the United States is winning the AI war right now with China and Russia, and we need to keep it up. So you have the military national security side pushing for more AI. You have the consumer side, because it allows them to, follow us around, and the algorithms decide what we see, and it'll help them better control the populace, so that there's pressure on all sides for AI, except for the people who actually mattered, like us. We don't give a shit. I don't know anybody who's like, yeah, AI. It's all these rich elite assholes, okay? It's the tech bros who can't do art, so they want the AI images. They want to be able to make an AI movie all on their own one day that is going to be just trash because there's no human element to it, but that's what they want. That's what they want. So they're going to get it. So the national energy emergency is just to open up more places. We don't really need it. If we regulated some of the tech sector on the energy that they could use for AI, we would be fine. If we have national energy issues anywhere, it's in our infrastructure. Places like Texas has absolutely no infrastructure. Their problem is they can't make enough power. Or is not that they can't make enough power, it's that their grid can't handle it. So if anything, if you ask me what could he do, and it's a red state and it would benefit actual people, it would be, we're going to fix the grid in Texas. Because Texas clearly sucks at this. I'd be for that. What's Greg Abbott going to do? Tell Donald Trump to stay the fuck out of his state? He might have done that with Biden, but he won't do that with Trump. So, yeah, we're going to have all kinds of fun. Again, the main problem we're going to have with today is these reports and executive orders are going to come out, drip, drip, drip. Every couple minutes, you're going to see another one. And it's going to be just as terrible. Most of these are performative. They're strictly for MAGA to say, he's doing stuff and keep, Trump's numbers high up with them. But some of them, like the national energy emergency and this national emergency at the border, they're all there to cause real damage to us and to the world. And we unfortunately need to be careful. We need to be very careful. Yeah, great. So the other big news, I guess, this morning is that Biden has pardoned Fauci and Milley. These are preventative pardons, basically, to stop, any potential investigations by Trump. I think this is stupid, personally, and I'll tell you why. These guys didn't do anything fucking wrong the first time. There's no crime with Anthony Fauci. None whatsoever. Trump was never going to go after them for legit, real things. They were always, if for some reason the DOJ started investigating him, it would be on trumped up bullshit charges. So pardoning them, I don't think it's the magic bullet that everybody oh, good, he's pardoned, he's safe. No, I'm sorry, they're still going to come after Hunter Biden. They're still going to go after Fauci. This maybe slows them down for a day or two, and they're like, oh, crap, he pardoned him. We have to think of something new. But they're not going to stop. Trump has villainized a lot of people, and his people, the MAGA people, are going to demand that he go through with it. Okay? I noticed Biden hasn't pardoned Hillary Clinton for anything. Okay, we have to understand the sycophants that are going to be in office are there, regardless of what was said during the hearings. They're there to do what Trump says and not fight. So it's a very scary time that we're around here. I still really, really hate that the Quisling Party, the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, and them are acting like everything's normal. This morning, Kamala Harris and her husband welcomed J.D. Vance into his new home. I guess they moved out without a hitch. Biden has just welcomed Melania and Donald Trump back into the White House. Everything is politics as usual, as if this is nothing. And it really frustrates the hell out of me. You set yourself up for failure. Because here's what's going to happen. Okay? For the better part of 4 years, Joe Biden has said Trump is an existential threat to democracy in America. He's going to destroy our way of life. He's going to destroy our economy. He's going to build camps. I mean, all this stuff that they reported. They went ahead and they reported this. They said, this is our problem with him. And I happen to agree with a lot of it because I take the Orange God King at his word. And because I take him at his word, I believe him when I see all this shit. All the horrible things he's going to do, I'm like, yeah, I'll take him at his word. That's what you should do. Take him at his word. He said he's going to do this. I believe him. I think he's going to do it. Here's the problem. Joe Biden was the one saying he's an existential threat for 4 years. Harris said the same thing. Now he's in office. you're in a lose-lose, because either he does exactly what you said he was, which means he's God King for life, because there's no way there's going to be another election. That's the worst case scenario. Or your best case scenario, which is still a lose-lose, is, yeah, not much has changed. If we all keep going to the grocery store and the grocery prices keep dropping and unemployment stays where it is, maybe goes up a point or two, but nothing major, right? There's no massive recession or anything like that. If everything stays more or less the same, you've damaged your brand. Going forward, you've damaged it. Assume there are elections in 2028. What is Gavin Newsom going to run on? Trump was horrible? No, you lowered expectations for him so much that just maintaining the status quo and slowly degrading our democracy very, very slowly and very, very subtly over a period of 4 more years, you're going to sound like an idiot. And then it'll have the further effect of legitimizing him. Because you'll have these pollsters who are like, hey, Trump's numbers look pretty solid because he hasn't completely cratered the country. And this is your best case scenario. He doesn't crater the country. He doesn't end democracy. Chips away at its edges for another 4 years, makes it more likely that we could end up with an autocracy later. But for right now, status quo. Imagine Gavin Newsom getting up there. All his pollsters, all his Democratic elites, just like they were after this last election, are going to be like, don't cater to the left. The country loves what Trump's doing. You need to go ahead and keep doing it. And Gavin Newsom will get up there and be like, I'm the guy who helped destroy homeless encampments in California. I'm the guy who helped Donald Trump with his border problem. And he's going to adopt a lot of Donald Trump's policies because they're going to think that's what the people want. They don't. They never have. It's a mirage. The problem I've had with the Democratic Quisling Party for the last several years is that they don't even fight. They don't fight for what they believe in. What do they believe in when it comes to the border? I don't even know. They tried to pass basically a Trump bill just this last fall. And they promoted it as that. They're like, look, this is a tougher bill than Trump would do. Ha ha. Not one of them in a leadership position made the case. Maybe we should just make the case that there's another way to do this. No one's arguing from the other side. Everyone in the Quisling establishment and the MAGA establishment were in agreement. We need to just send billions of dollars to the border. We need more manpower down there. We need more restrictive policies. All of them are in agreement. There's no counter argument right now for it. So I have a huge problem with the Democratic Party for doing that. For fuck's sake, have a principle and fucking stand on it. Make up your mind. But it can't be what MAGA wants. It can't be what Donald Trump wants. It has to be something different. Appeal to our better selves, our better natures. Don't just tell us we're better than this. Fucking prove it. That's something I've been hearing over and over again from Biden. We're better than this. We're better than this. We are not this way. Give us an alternative path then. What is the other way? Most of us don't live in our memories in a time where America had a better way. We've been breaking other countries' sovereignty for so long that the idea of doing it to Mexico is no big deal. So I have a huge issue with this. Huge issue with it. I think the pardons are stupid. Again, these guys did nothing wrong. Trump doesn't care if they did anything wrong. He just knows his base really fucking hates him. So that's fine. Great. You pardoned them. It might slow down the prosecutions, if they come at all. Trump could have just been saying this shit. We really don't know. So we need to be, very aware of what's going on. We need to be very aware. We need to understand what the Democrats have done so that we know not to do that going forward. Okay, this is why I have gone to the first 2025 meeting for the Democratic Party in my district. I've gone. I've raised my hand. I volunteered. I'm gonna work. I told you before, third parties aren't the way. I've tried. I really have. Most of them are for the radicals. And I do mean they're not third party because they're like, oh, we have a different way of doing things. That's all. No, they're fucking radicals. Every single one of them. I've been to a lot of them. Any of the left to the Democrats, that's where the crazies go. They're uncompromising. It's their way or the highway. And that's one of the reasons they're there, because unfortunately, if you can't work with people, you're ineffectual in government. Okay? My parents one time were like, Kyle, you're so invested in politics. Why don't you run? And I'm like, I would suck at being a representative. Because I don't like to compromise. I don't like to... I'm too combative. I'm too blunt. I don't do politics speak at all. I don't know how to talk to a room and do anything other than tell the unabashed truth all the time. I would make a terrible politician, and then if by some miracle I ended up in Congress or somewhere, I wouldn't get anything done. I don't think I would be effectual at all. I would not be able to affect change in any meaningful way. I would just be another vote. But I recognize that. So instead, it's like, sure, I will be a grunt for the Democratic Party here in the state of Alabama for as long as I live here. And if I go somewhere else, I'll be a grunt for them there. And I will be in that room so that they don't have groupthink. So that they're not all like in a bubble, because we do have a left-wing bubble here. Okay? We do. You see it on Blue Sky. Right now, the big trend on Blue Sky and social media is, you know what? I don't like you, fuck you, block you. Fine. That's your business. But if you go out and you make a political position, and I respond, I'm not being rude, I don't call you names, I don't say, oh, you dummy, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm not being combative even, I'm just like, actually, I think it was this. And you block me? That doesn't mean my opinion was bad or anything. That means you want the echo chamber. You want the bubble. And this wasn't somebody I necessarily disagreed with. This was someone on the left who I wanted to have a conversation with, and I was like, actually, I think it was this. Like the conversation I had this last weekend at that Democratic meeting when they were talking about, you know, what's our message going forward with the economy? And I brought up my point on the economy, why all the statistics didn't matter. The constant cycle of every couple years you get laid off, so you decimate your savings, and you have to keep starting over. And there are people my age, in their 40s, going to a brand new job right now, and they're starting at entry-level pay. Whereas my dad, and a lot of our dads and moms, by the time they were our age, had been working somewhere for 20 plus years, had built in equity at the job. That's something nobody talks about. You can have equity in your house. You cannot have equity at your job. If you have equity at your job, chances are next time there's layoffs, you will be among them. Companies don't want you to have equity at your job. And I brought that up. And I said, hey, you guys have the message wrong. That message was basically the same one Harris was pushing and the same one Biden was pushing. And I was like, that's the wrong message. Okay, it failed. We need to abandon what failed. What failed? I think that's something we need to do. We need to acknowledge, hey, okay, we had 4 years to make sure there would not be fascism in America. What did we do wrong? And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I don't think there's anything wrong going back 20 plus years and saying what were the mistakes of the Democratic Party for the last 20 years that have led to here. Because Trump didn't just happen out of nowhere. He didn't just show up one day in 2016 and take over the country. The situation was built for him over time, over decades. Some suggest from Reagan's time. Some go even farther. Some go back and say this is all Nixon's fault. So, yeah, this could be rough. We need an honest accounting, not to place blame. There are times where you can place blame, and yes, I do place blame, on people. But as a party moving forward, you need to acknowledge these were the missteps. This is where we screwed up, so that we can avoid them in the future. So yeah, it was important for me to go to that meeting to express that the economic message that Biden and Harris pushed, that was just repeated here in this meeting, totally fucking wrong. It didn't win. You lost the midterms. You lost the presidency. I got in an argument online with a complete random stranger who didn't want to admit that we lost the midterms in 2022. They were like, actually, there was no red wave, so it was a win. No, you lost. I don't care. You created the conditions for a red wave to even be an idea. The Republicans won that election. You can kiss my ass. That is a unfair reaccounting. You're like, yes, we did better than pollsters predicted. We still fucking lost. Okay? Congrats. You won at Vegas. You would be fantastic at sports betting. Okay? Chiefs versus Bills this weekend. Bills favored by 1.5 last time I checked. The Chiefs only lost by 1 point. So they did better than expected. Congratulations. They still fucking lost. Hopefully that's what happens. But anyway. We need a fair accounting. That's why I'm there. That's why I think we all need to go. We all do. I don't care if you hate the Democrats with every fiber of your being. I don't care if you've never voted for a Democrat and you've never voted at all for anybody and you just sat here and you're like, I hate both parties. There's only one party that's going to listen to you right now, and it's not MAGA. Okay? Now, currently, I think their leadership is going down the path of Quisling. If you don't know what Quisling is, it's a term used for a group of people that actively support our oppressors. Turncoats, traitors. Okay? There are things going on in Congress right now with the Democratic Party that I look at and I can't explain other than they're in on it. Because it doesn't make sense to me. To me, from where I sit, far, far away from Washington, D.C., this makes complete sense. Or no sense to me at all. It's like, how are you guys sitting during all these confirmation hearings and treating everything like business as usual? That does not make sense to me. The other side is acting exactly how I expect them to, but you are acting like everything's normal when it's not. So the only thing that makes sense is you're helping them. You're helping legitimize them. You're helping keep your own people in line. For what purpose? I don't know. Maybe they just like being in power. Maybe they are all like Lindsey Graham. And they're like, principles? Fuck that. I want to be in power. I like being in Congress. This is fun. I served 10 years in the House. I get retirement for life. I served 2 terms at Senate. Retirement for life. This is best. This is the greatest. 6-figure retirement, by the way. 10 years, you're done. You could, if you wanted to. 5 terms, out. Retired for life. You can do it. 10 years. That's it. No one else in the country has that kind of pension plan. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's all they want. They just want their golden parachute, and you'll never hear from them again. Or maybe they just need to stay in power so they can write a book. Or whatever personal benefit to them. But from the outside looking in, it just looks like they're going along. Either they agree with everything Trump's doing and are just scared to say it, or they just want to be in Congress. Who knows? I'm more inclined to be like they're Lindsey Graham. They're just like, I don't have any principles. I just want to stay in this nice, well-conditioned atmosphere, right? I want to live here where I always have food and money and security. And aside from January 6th, I have safety. And I never have to worry. And if I kiss the orange man's ass, and I don't cause too much of a problem for him, then maybe when his red shirts come around to me, they walk past my house. You know? Oh no, don't mess with Hakeem Jeffries. He's one of the good ones. He knows. Let's go for AOC instead. She keeps poking, right? And as I say this, just updated. I'm not doing this. Donald Trump will sign an executive order renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. You can't make this shit up. I wish you could. I'm not doing that. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter to me. That's just... I don't even know who that appeases, the Gulf of America. Like, who gives a shit? Fuck him. That's just stupid. Anyway, so we'll leave with the stupid. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of scripted videos in my future because this shit's just pouring in. At least not this week. You know, this week might be very much just we're just going to get on and do a stream of consciousness as the news trickles in. And maybe next week things will slow down a tad so I can actually write something that is still relevant, you know, an hour later. Hopefully. I actually don't like doing this off the cuff. I tend to ramble and repeat myself and say a lot. I really hate that, but that's who I am. So this is going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. We could have easily not done this, but for the price of eggs. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Get vaccinated, not just COVID, but like flu. Flu season's here. It's obviously very cold. We're all going to be indoors. Go get that. Go take care of yourself. Stay warm if you can. If you hear background noise, there's like a fan. My heat's on probably, you know, constantly. It's 12 degrees where I am, but the thing said it's it feels like 1 degree, so that's fun. Otherwise, you know, friends and enemies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.
Vive la Resistance!